Hello, everybody. I just wanted to send another note out to thank you all and let you know I'm very proud of everyone and what you all are doing out there. I wanted to communicate to you that as we continue to learn, I'll continue to share. Um there's been some interesting comments made out there in the subcontractor community, and I thought I wanted to address some of these things with you as it relates to the pride of what we do and why we're doing it. First of all, we are the first line defenders of our economy. Construction is the number one economic indicator for our economy. They always look to that. So they're keeping us working. They know we're essential simply because of that. And we're in line with the doctors, the infrastructure workers, the food suppliers, and everyone associated with keeping our economy running. We're providing the buildings that will allow the non essential workers the opportunity to work once this ban is lifted. Um, so I'm very proud of the fact that our industry is continuing, and most of our projects are considered essential. In fact, all construction is considered essential in all but four states. Washington happens to be one of those. But fortunately for us, most of our projects are indeed considered essential. Um, I have heard again some subs are upset that they think essential means disposable, and I certainly hope you guys don't fall in line with that train of thought. But here are a few facts for you to consider. Unemployment reports have skyrocketed from 282,000 the week prior to this last report to now, which there was 3,282,000 people applying for unemployment, and that's likely underreported because most of the states are having issues. Their unemployment websites are crashing and they're not able to get everybody in. So those numbers are likely to go up over the next couple of weeks. Um, but the vast majority of the United States is considered essential. The major industries that are shut down, there's about 12.3 million of the food, service, and drinking places. There's 2.5 million of arts, entertainment, and recreation folks. There is 2 million in the category of retail and sales. Well, you add that up, it's around 17 million. Out of the U.S. population, really the non essential workers are about 5%. 5.6 is what that calculates out to as a percentage of the U.S. population. That does mean that over 94% of us are still working. So we're not out there alone. Everybody's facing this together. This isn't just you. Again, I wanted to dispel some of those concerns about police pulling people over and doing these things. This is not martial law. They aren't going to look for cards. We're fine with providing a letter if it makes you feel more comfortable, but we're not seeing any actions taken by the police to date. Even though Inslee sent out something stating that he was going to, I'm sure that's related to businesses that shouldn't be operating that are, that they may police those and help take some of those down, but we're safe. So as always, though, your safety is first and our top priority. If you don't feel safe, you are free to go home. There is no one forcing you to work. There are no repercussions of that decision, and we'll work with you as best we can to get you your current PTO and to help get you on the unemployment, and certainly not deny it, and other aid as it becomes available. Um, we don't know all the ins and outs of the federal sick leave and the federal family medical leave acts yet. We're working on those, but those are in place today, but we don't know how quite it's going to work to your benefit. And as we learn those, we will roll that out for you. Um, but now you guys have already implemented your BMPs on your project, so please keep up the good work. I did want to talk to you here briefly, and I'm going to try to be brief, about a video that I'm going to send out to you. It was a doctor over in New York that's working in a hospital dedicated completely to the COVID-19, and he put this out to try to help empower people in thinking through what they should do about this virus. A lot of people are very scared of this virus. A lot of people don't understand it. Well, he does. And so he put this video out. It's 47 minutes long, and I would recommend that you watch it and with your family so that everyone gets it. I did watch it a couple of times and took notes to try to break it down because it's 47 minutes long. A very brief summation of it is that he has said, in any community, you've got it. Coronavirus is there, so it's here. We've got it. It's around us. And now we got to figure out what to do with it. The idea of flattening the curve, as you probably have all heard this term. The thing about that is that if the curve is like this and you flatten it to this, it's the same number of people underneath it. It doesn't change the number of people. It just takes the time out. It just takes longer to get it. We've talked about that previously. Um, in the doctor's terms, he says the good news is that the virus is a wimp. It's extremely weak. Soap and water, hand sanitizer will kill it. The symptoms of it are fever, cough, sore throat. If you have any of those, just stay home, wait a couple of days. If you improve, you don't have it. If you get worse, you might have it. Then and if you get a fever, that's when you need to be concerned. Stay home, make sure you're not around other people. So he goes into how do you get it? It's through sustained contact with someone who has the disease or is about to get it. So we'll get more into that. But the transmission of the virus is almost exclusively from hand to face contact. It's this stuff right here. 99% of what it is you touch something, you touch your face, your eyes, your nose, your mouth without washing your hands. That's how you're going to get it. 99% of it is what he says. Or there's a small chance that through an aerosol type of a situation where if you have 15 to 30 minutes of sustained close quarter contact with someone that has it, breathing on each other, you may end up with it. Again, it's the hands to mouth, nose, and eyes that'll get it to you. So who can get it? Fortunately, right now, there's no reports of anyone 0 to 14 that has this. Everyone else, though, can get it. So 15 and up can get it. So you can even get it. You can go home and you can not infect your family if you follow the rules that he lays out. He lays out 4 simple rules. I've only noted 3 of them because one of them isn't really a rule, but it relates to that those N95 masks don't do any good for you out there. So he's asking you to send those into them if we have any of those. So if we do have any of those on job sites, let me know. So number 1, the first rule would be to be a hand Nazi. Wash your hands and use Purell. If your hands are clean, you won't get it. Period. If your hands are clean, you won't get it. You get it by touching a person or a surface with the COVID and then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. So if you could protect your hands, gloves, wear gloves. I went to Lowe's and bought a bunch of these and handed them out around the office. When you go outside, wear gloves. You go to the grocery store, wear gloves. Simple. Take it off and rinse your hands or wash your hands before you get back into your car. Keep your steering wheel nice and clean. And understand where your hands have been so that when they do touch something, you know you've now controlled and you can follow the path of that virus. Understand the psychological connection of the hand to face. That's his rule number 2. So he suggests actually even wearing a mask and not to protect yourself from the virus because it won't. It's going to be your hands touching parts of your face. But the mask will actually let you feel that psychological connection to you. It'll be reminded, oh, I'm not supposed to touch my hands. That's it. So it'll train you to do it. So he suggests that. The next rule number 3 is maintain social distancing. Stay 6 feet away from people. So when you're out on the job sites, when you're out in grocery stores, when you're checking into hotels, if you're traveling, if you're doing these things, stay 6 feet away from everybody else. He did have a few questions that I thought were relevant. So when should I go to the hospital? He says only if you have a shortness of breath, a fever, a cough, those things. He says don't go. Only go if you got a shortness of breath. We don't want to plug up our hospital systems. We need to keep them available for those that do end up in critical condition. Again, 80% is going to think this is a common cold. Another 15% is going to have mild flu-like symptoms. And then the other 5% of the critical ones, we need to leave the hospitals open for them. Don't go there unless you have a shortness of breath. There's also a app that we have through United Healthcare that's a web doctor. If you haven't signed up for it, that's a great place to do it. You can ask all sorts of questions of doctors right there from your phone. You don't need to go into a hospital. You don't need to plug up things. So absolutely use that. He was asked what drugs should he use. He says, do not use ibuprofen if you have a headache. He said, interestingly, that's something that the virus likes. He says, use acetaminophen if you have a headache. Don't use ibuprofen. What should I do if I get the virus? He says, notify those that you were around the previous 2 days on a close quarter basis. Then those people should self quarantine. And that's really it. We wipe down everything as a standard stuff here in our BMPs and our job sites and our homes, but continue wiping things down. Again, hand to eyes, nose, mouth is the problem. Should I use a mask? No, you don't need a mask. A mask is not going to protect you. Only use it if you're trying to train yourself not to touch your face. How long will this last? Months to a year. He says that usually in any of these type of things, there is a the first spike that we're going to see here nationally that will eventually knock down, but then another small spike will happen as people ease up on social distancing and just doing the hand hygiene and things like that. So then there were some questions if you can be immune to it. He says, well, the good news is that, I guess the bad news is no, there's no immunity to it. However, as a whole, however, the vast majority of people end up immune to it and aren't going to get it again. So they did this test in China, 81,000 people affected, 76,000 aren't going to get it again. So the vast majority of people, it's a one and done thing. And then finally, one of the questions was, is riding in cars okay? He says, well, yeah, as long as no one has it, it's totally fine. You can drive forever, but follow the rules of the hands. And you construction guys, no kissing each other as you're driving down the road. But remember, gloves are one key factor. Wear them on your job sites. You will not then, the germs aren't going to get through to doors and to things like that. Use them. Anyway, in summary, I do. Again, I just want you guys to know how proud I am of you. You're not out there alone. Like I said, there's 94% of the country still working. News is something else, to say the least. But you are the ones keeping this economy going. There's no question about it. There's not as many people considered unessential as we talked about. So when people do say that we're disposable or dispensable, that's so not true. The vast majority of people are still working. Um, and the great news is this virus is completely controllable. Hands, eyes, nose, mouth, no. So keep up the great work and the BMPs that you're currently using. Um, we're thinking of making some T-shirts up that just basically list these rules out. Wash your hands, social distancing, things like that. If you've got any suggestions for things that you'd like that we could put on print that would help boost morale or anything like that, by all means, reach out to me. In fact, I've got a $50 gift card for the person that comes up with an idea that we use. So, or actually any person that comes up with an idea that we use. So do email me, steve@twclark.com. And in the meantime, if you have any other questions, you can call me anytime. Again, appreciate everything you guys are doing. Keep up the great work out there, and we'll get through this.